I'm Dr. Judy Melanek. I'm a forensic pathologist. It is absolutely a problem when it is emotionally I'm just looking to see. I'm a forensic pathologist.
Investigation is not something that can be done over.
So the extremities can mummify relatively quickly. I was given the scene photos, the reports generated by the medical examiner, sheriff's department, police department, witness interviews. Hello.
Hello.
I see you. Excellent background. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Good. I'm just waiting for Ash to join in. Let me see if I have to let her in. Participants, Ashely, Alker. Okay, admit. Here we go. Come on in, join in. Yeah, so what I discovered, the reason I'm doing this more than anything else is that in the process of becoming an author, what was it, a decade ago at this point with Working Stiff?
Yeah.
I realized really, really quickly that the entire landscape of both publishing and marketing has just shifted, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what used to be, a publishing house model where the publishing house would publish the book, give you an advance, publish the book, advertise it for you, send it to bookstores, and then whatever didn't get sold got returned. This model is disappearing, right? And it was disrupted initially, not by anything writers did, but by Amazon, which realized really quickly, well, books don't go bad. Books, they don't have an expiration date. And so we can create, a virtual warehouse of books, and anybody can come to us for any reason, and we can, competitively price things to price out brick and mortar stores. And that was what the landscape was at the time that Working Stiff came out. And this was before Book Talk, before TikTok even existed, right?
Yeah, I know.
But at the advent or at the start of social media, so social media was starting to develop, and people were starting to kind of realize that they could use social media in conjunction with digital sales from Amazon and other digital book providers to recommend books to one another or to build a community. So even before Goodreads existed, but it was really early. And then Book Talk obviously didn't exist. And then kind of watching the landscape of book publishing and writing and marketing over the past 10 years or so since Working Stiff came out, I've come to the realization that, the onus or the burden of marketing is really on the authors now, where it didn't used to be. It used to be that when you were an author and you wrote a good book and the publisher wanted it to be sold, just like you do, you want people to read it. They would do the
this should be a bestseller. This should be a bestseller.
It is, but the onus is on us,
I know,
on the authors, and they're outside of PR agencies that ask for money, where you have to pay them in order to do PR. There is no network of authors. The authors guilds are not stepping up and doing it. They really aren't, and they should, but they're not.
Much better.
Cool.
All right,
better.
sorry guys.
All right, no, that's okay. That's what listen. We were just chit chatting about marketing books and kind of the marketplace and how things have changed in the past decade or so since Working Stiff came out. And what I was telling Bruce was that I realized early, just in the past few years, that the onus is on us as authors to do our own marketing and to learn how to reach out to our audience to sell the books, because the publishing houses are not doing it anymore. And
which
Amazon,
is wild.
No, well, it's not surprising though, because the thing is that they are so at a disadvantage because they don't own the digital sphere. The people who own the digital sphere, which is where people get most of their marketing information from about books, are Amazon and Zuckerberg. There's basically just two people. So unless you learn how to leverage social media to your favor and use the algorithms to your favor, you're going to end up, spending a lot of money for very, very little return.
Yeah, and maybe not even reaching the right people.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct. So this is why this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah. Thank God.
Partially, well, this
You're
is
the best.
I'm trying to figure it out myself, and we're going through, you're part of the process. Like Bruce and I,
Yeah.
we've done this before. We did this with, didn't we, haven't we done this with your last book?
That
I'm trying to remember what happened.
my book came out like
Yeah,
was it a month or 2 months before pandemic came out?
that's right.
I
That's right.
was all set to do,
Hmm.
all kinds of stuff,
Book events
and
and everything.
boom, everything shut down. I
Oh
did two
God.
Right,
appearances, and that was
right,
it.
Oh,
right.
Bruce, I'm
So,
sorry.
And
well,
the same thing happened to us.
what are you gonna do?
First
What are you
Cut,
gonna
our
do?
novel came out it came out a few months before the pandemic, and all of our book events shut down, and everything went virtual. And
Yeah.
I remember hearing. Do you know what the most popular book was during the pandemic? The one that sold the most and made the most money on
What?
Amazon. It was digital. It was on Amazon, and it was Snoop Dogg's cookbook.
Oh, no
I'm
kidding!
not
Oh
even
my God!
kidding.
Which I'm sure it's
Somebody
fabulous, but
well, it was because people were home and they needed cookbooks, and it
yeah.
was being recommended through, the digital marketplace
Hmm.
through Amazon, or people were buying it. So then it was being recommended to other people, people who
Yeah.
like this have also liked this. And I
Yeah.
guess kind of the confluence of, and it was an old book. It didn't come out
Wow!
in 2020. It was like 2 or 3 years old. But
Wow!
for
Yeah.
some reason, somebody in the digital marketing campaign and some confluence of the pandemic, the shutdown, the fact that
Hmm.
people were home and they were looking to, doing nothing but cooking,
Yep.
um, made this the number one book during the pandemic. And it made me realize that as authors, we have a network that we can tap into, not only because as authors, we're also readers.
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
anybody who's a
definitely.
writer is also a reader. We overlap, right?
Yep.
So, I get really excited when I meet other authors whose books I've read, and
Yeah,
then
me
they've
too.
read my books, and then it's just, this community of authors and readers has the Venn diagram. There's overlap there
Yeah,
between
yeah.
writers and readers. So finding that community in a digital space, like we have the opportunity to reach out to each other and support each other and learn those social media algorithms so that we can then reach out to each other's readers, because your readers are
Yeah,
my readers and my readers are your
definitely.
readers, so that
Yeah.
that fits in. So anyway, I put together some questions, and I
Oh
have
yeah.
I have at least two of your books. I've got yours and yours,
Oh,
so
yay.
we can show them.
She's here too.
I know, it's perfect. And
And Bruce has
this
got the
Ashely,
same.
right? And Bruce, Ashely, this is her first book.
I know,
So
I know, I know. I
So like,
told Judy when you were away. I told Judy this has bestseller. It just
right,
Oh,
screams
it
guys.
bestseller to me.
does, it
It really does.
does. We're gonna
It
get it
should be a
there.
bestseller. It
It
should be.
should be, and we're gonna get it there. So
I
that's the
Absolutely.
purpose of this. Teach.
That
Can
would
you not
be a
make noise?
dream.
It's well written. You got the credentials. It's a beautiful book.
Thank
It's
you.
just interesting. It's got all the elements
Well, thank you, Bruce.
from a
I just
bestseller. I would.
That means the world to me. Like just hearing that people read it and like it is, because you
Yeah.
don't know. And
I
also
know.
finding the people that like it is difficult because there are, I mean, they've
I
already
know.
found it. There are people that do not like this book. There are, kind of some
There's always,
anti-vaxxers on my Goodreads that
yeah.
have some
I got
opinions.
so much. I got so much criticism about 18 Tiny Deaths.
Yeah.
That there weren't pictures of the nutshell studies. I
Yeah.
got complaints because there's a whole book called "The
Yeah.
Nutshell Studies of Unexplained Death," with all the pictures.
Yeah.
And I got complaints because there are fingerprints on the cover,
Yeah.
and that's actually part of the design. But
Yeah.
it's just
You can't make
people.
everybody happy,
You
but I'm
No, you
can't,
hoping to
can't.
find the
yeah,
people,
that's the
No,
thing.
you
You will
can't.
find your people. And
Yeah.
I think that that's the key, is that you cannot please every single reader. And
And
that
Mhm.
wasn't the intention. You know what I
and the
mean? When
ones
you're,
that comment,
yeah,
are the ones that are motivated and really
yeah,
have a bone to pick.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
10 to
Totally.
1, 10 to 1 criticism to somebody saying, I love this book.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's just and it's the same with everything in life, right? Because
Yeah.
like, even in a medicine, there's like 10 complaints to one person being
Sure.
like, this was exceptional.
Yeah.
Because meeting
Right.
the bar isn't enough in writing and medicine. I feel like that's the, difficult part of
It's,
it.
Once we get your following up, you need over 1,000 people to follow you
Yeah.
before you can
Do
do a
live.
live. And
Yeah.
lives tend to be engaging because readers will engage and readers will ask questions. And
Oh, cool.
your
Yeah.
book, or I have questions about
Sure.
position, I have a question medical condition. And, you have to
Yeah.
obviously navigate that carefully
Sure. You don't want to
in
give advice
terms
on
of,
the internet.
not giving medical advice, but at the
Yeah.
same time, give them, that they can then go see their doctor
Yeah.
and get the advice that they need. So
Sure.
there's that balance. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's some advantages to lives, and TikTok
Hmm.
rewards you for
Yeah.
doing lives by showing some of your other stuff as well.
Yeah.
So there are advantages to the algorithm for using that as well. And
Sure.
I like TikTok in particular right now as a social media. I mean,
I have a quick
so
question. So,
yeah,
have you got either of you used affiliate marketing with your publishers on TikTok to sell books? Because I met someone last night who is an affiliate marketer who, of course, makes tens of thousands of dollars a month
yeah,
selling things. So, anyways, she was telling me that there are books on TikTok and you can sell that way. And
yeah,
I'm wondering if our publishing
yeah.
companies do that.
I don't think they do. I have to talk, you have to talk to the publishing company,
Yeah.
talk to your publisher and find out. Because my understanding is, and I may be, I they're the publishing houses do engage with book talk,
Yeah.
which is people who review
Yeah.
books and talk about books on TikTok.
Sure.
But when you purchase things through, when you're actually selling things through the TikTok shop,
Yeah.
it's a different financial model than like a bookstore.
I
You see
see.
what I mean? So people who are selling things on the TikTok shop, it's much more closely aligned to and works much better with self-publishing than it does with big five
I know, but I
publishing.
feel like it's
And I
such an
don't
untapped
understand the
resource.
model.
Yeah.
It is. And I'm hoping that with time we will get there. But my
Yeah.
understanding is, at least from being on TikTok for the past few years, I mean, I've been on for like 5 years now, that TikTok shop is designed for uh, like it would be a bookstore, you know what I mean, that has
Yeah, I
stock.
see. Okay.
And so if you create a TikTok shop,
Yeah.
the burden would be on you to
To
purchase
sell
the
the
books,
books.
sign
Yeah.
them, and sell the books, and then
Okay.
you're selling signed copies. You see what
Yes.
I mean?
One of
But
my best friends owns a
yeah,
bookstore, so maybe I could have her do it.
right. So that's the thing, is that I think that
Yeah.
you have to create some sort of arrangement or
Yes.
connection
Yeah.
with somebody who's going to do the selling through the TikTok shop.
Interesting. Okay,
But
thank you.
they take a cut, and so
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
stores necessarily want to
Yeah.
be on there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
So
know. My
there's
thing is,
issues there.
yeah, I'm like,
Yeah,
they can take my percentage because I feel
yeah,
like I'm not going to make any money on this book with all the money I spend on marketing and stuff. It's more just because I want to write again, and if the book's not
right.
successful, I mean, my agents are
No, I
lovely,
understand.
but they're not going to stay with me if I'm not successful, and nobody's going to let me write another book.
Oh,
So,
you'd be surprised.
You,
yeah,
yeah, you can still, you can still write. And the beautiful thing is that the marketplace has changed in the way that you can also self-publish now. Like the thing
yeah,
is once you have a book that's out and you have readers and people who
yeah,
like it, and you develop your email marketing list and you
sure,
develop your TikTok or your social media presence, then you
yeah.
can self-publish and bypass the
Sure. I did that with a children's
publishing
book a
houses. I
long
think it's
time
beautiful. Yeah,
ago, just because
yeah.
my mom died when I was younger and I did something with her artwork and you know how children's books work, you have to use the
Hmm.
illustrators from. So I was like,
Right,
"Screw it, I'm gonna self-publish." And this was a lot like 10 years ago. So it was like
right,
brand new Amazon self-publishing. So I did
right.
the process. It was fine. I think with this type of writing, I'm
Yeah,
like, I need the editor. And so
yeah.
like that I wanted the infrastructure because I'm worried that I can't write my best product without that's why I wanted a
Without that help. Yeah,
publisher. Yeah,
no,
like that was the
and
dynamic I wanted. But
totally understandable.
yeah, but
Yeah.
self-publishing is great and people do extremely well. I think you
No,
have to
they
be
do.
very talented in
Yeah, but
in
it becomes your
genres.
full-time job. And
Yeah.
I think it's easier for someone who doesn't have a 9 to 5. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
still
Oh,
working as a
yeah.
forensic pathologist,
Sure. Yeah.
so
And
it's really
consulting and doing
challenging.
everything else.
Right.
Yeah,
No, I know. I've got like
that's the
15
that's
balls in the
I'm
air.
like you'd have to run a marketing firm and editing and yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like I
no, I
don't
know. It's too much work.
It's
I'm with
it's
you.
it's amazing the people that do it though and are successful are,
Yeah.
they're set for life.
I have a quick question. Where do you do
Yeah.
your lives? Is that on Facebook or TikTok? You do them a TikTok live?
I do things on TikTok more than Facebook and Instagram, and I'll tell you why. I found a long time ago that Meta, the company that owns both
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram, they punish you for selling stuff.
Oh, okay.
So if you have a business account, And I have two accounts on Facebook. I have a business account, Dr. Judy Melanek, MD, and I have a personal account, which is just for my friends and people
Yeah.
I actually know in real life.
Yeah.
And what I have found is that they, as soon as on Instagram or any of the meta platforms, Instagram or Facebook, as soon as you pay them to promote your account, you get slotted into this category of this person's got money, and they will never, ever show your stuff without promotion ever again.
Really?
And so, yes. So I made the mistake, if you want to call it, a while back, when we were first promoting Working Stiff, of paying for targeted ads through Facebook.
I just did that.
Yes.
Did I screw myself?
Well, I
just
don't
did
know. I don't think you screwed yourself, because there are advantages when you pay, but then the long-term consequences is you're going to, it's kind of like a drug dealer. They've got you hooked, and now they're going to extort. So I still think that there is something worthwhile for targeted ads when you are, specifically when you have a book event or you have a book coming out.
Sure.
So when you're like dealing with like something like pre-ordering, or when you have a book event in a particular region and you want people to actually show up to the event, there's an advantage to paying targeted ads for that region, or for the people who read those kind of books or are fans of bookstores, to see your targeted ads on Facebook. But as you and I, as all of you know, if you actually use social media, if you're actually scrolling and use social media, you realize really quickly that you're ignoring the ads anyway. Like, I don't even go to my Facebook feed anymore. I just go to my groups, and I just go to my friends, like the particular groups where friends are, and I look at my notifications. So when I go on Facebook, I'm not looking at the regular feed anymore.
Yeah,
because it's all ads.
It's all ads. And
it's
it's
all
obvious.
ads.
It's not like TikTok where like it's real people and engaging.
Right.
It's like it's just
Exactly.
very obvious that you're looking at ads.
Right.
Which people pick up really quickly. It's like one of those blink things.
Exactly. So at this point, if anything, I block them. I get annoyed with them. Like it's a subject I'm not going to buy, because their advertising model is so forceful and has taken over my feed. So I spend now in like my social media usage myself, in order to understand social media algorithms. It's not just good enough to be on social media to promote your stuff or have someone, do your social media marketing for you. Okay. You actually have to be a consumer of that stuff, unfortunately. But because as a consumer, you learn what works and what doesn't work. You learn what goes viral and what's hip and what sounds are in and what the trends are. And then you're part of that community too. But that requires a certain amount of social media investment, right? So I learned a long time ago, like I said, that if I pay for ads on Facebook or Instagram, specifically when I have an event happening, all of a sudden, all my other posts are downgraded. Nobody sees them anymore. So my routine posts about, here's something interesting in forensic pathology, and look at my friend's book, or look at this event that I went to that I think everybody would be interested in, nobody saw them. Like, it was like a shadow ban. The algorithm slotted me in the category of someone who is selling something and who has money, and we're not going to show her shit to anybody unless she pays us. And so that's why I don't like Facebook or Instagram anymore. TikTok is different.
Ash, are you on TikTok?
Yeah, I am. I just opened it. I have like 5 followers. I was very much more comfortable with like Instagram. Twitter, I was on during the pandemic as like an effort to fight misinformation. And I got to like 10,000 followers. I was doing pretty well on that. But then at the end of the pandemic, and then when it got sold and everything, I was like, ugh. So I haven't
I'm not
really
on Twitter
used it.
anymore. I shut down my Twitter account.
It's where I have the most followers, but I don't really use it. I just repost from my Instagram. Instagram was what I felt most comfortable with, but now hearing this, I'm like, crap, I probably need to use TikTok more, which I hate.
TikTok's the way to go.
I know, but
I know.
I was pushed into this. I have teenage children. I have two teenage girls.
They're like, go
the
dad.
children know that's the way.
But they know what people are doing, and that's one thing. I had something visual. I was using TikTok for the nutshell studies, so it was very people were fascinated with it. But it's really easy to go viral on TikTok.
That's right.
And it's very interactive. I found more than anything, more than Facebook, people comment and you can comment and you can interact with people so much more on
And
TikTok.
they're lovely. There's no,
They are. They really
the
are.
ratio of like fans and people who are nice to bots and trolls and neo-Nazis, which was the problem with X, it's a totally different ratio. So I ended up shutting down my X account when it got converted to X, and when people realized I was Jewish and started harassing me about everything. And so I was spending half my time on Twitter or X blocking and reporting, and they didn't do anything about the people I reported, but it started to become, like, it wasn't good for my mental health. And it was also concerning for me as a safety issue. Like, where are these people in the world? Like, can they come and harm me? Are they going to come after my friends or my family, or, the
hard
people
part of
I
social
associated
media
with
is like this, that it can get so out of control like that and become something that's scary. And it's already so time consuming that it's like, you put all this into it and then you're like, well, I'm going to just delete this now because, inappropriate
right
that happens.
and I had like 40,000 followers on Twitter. I'd gone viral twice. So I mean, like, that was back in the day then. So I found that TikTok is just a much nicer community of people.
I mean, it sounds much nicer.
It's also, I think they are a lot more readers. And the reason why a lot of them are audiobook readers, because they like to listen to things while they're doing other stuff, exercising, driving, whatever. But also, the reason they're readers is I think that TikTok by itself, by its nature, is a storytelling platform. The people who go viral, the posts that tend to get the most exposure are the ones where you tell a really good story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, that's engaging, that's interesting. And so because it's a storytelling platform, there's a lot of overlap with people who just like to either hear or read stories. And so I find a lot more readers.
It's a little snippet too. So when you could do a really short thing on what it's like to write your first book. Just do 60 seconds on what it's like. I mean, an unboxing video, that sort of thing. I'm about to do a TikTok this afternoon about the map. There's a map in the book, so I'm going to
you've got the map in, yes. Because the version you gave me didn't have the map, so I was so excited. I was like, I want to see the map.
That's very cool.
So the guy just sent me the original artwork for the map. And
wow!
That. So I'm going to talk about him. I'm going to talk about the book, but I'm really going to focus on him as an independent artist and why I did that. And
that's really cool.
Supporting an independent artist. It's honestly, you can do it 60 seconds. There you go, boom, and it's done.
And the key is, and the key is not to and the key is not to worry too much about making it perfect, because that particular platform tends to reward authenticity over polish. You can put on a little bit of lipstick or put a filter on if you want some freckles, but other than that,
if you want some freckles.
Surprisingly, what really helps a lot is choosing the right music. If you choose a trendy music,
that's true.
Yes,
oh my God, that's so funny.
In a low volume in the background, it can be like a 1. People don't even hear it. If that music is playing, it bumps it up. If it's a popular music. It does. It bumps it up.
And also having a title at the top that says me or I. This is a tip that somebody told me. Me or I.
Write this
like, I saw this. You, POV. Like those kind of banners. The algorithm looks for you announcing what it is and rewards you for that. And so that's also really helpful.
So music trends and banners.
Yeah. The thing to watch out for is that TikTok doesn't like certain words. And unfortunately for us, all three of us have the word that they've used the alternate word unalive, which I cannot use it. I'm sorry, TikTok audience. I cannot use unalive. I will not use it. So you can potentially use deceased. Deceased works really well. It doesn't necessarily trigger the algorithm as much as die or death does.
Suicide is another word.
Is another one. You can't use suicide.
Luckily, I don't have that one. I skipped it on purpose. I was like, this is not my genre.
But anything related to violence,
self-harm,
or self-harm gets banned or taken down. And then the other thing you need to watch out for is there are obviously people on the platform who are really sensitive to certain subjects because
Sure.
it impacted them in their
Yeah.
families, and they may be the most engaged persons, but it does
Yeah.
help sometimes to put in a little
Like,
Trigger warning.
warning.
Trigger
Yeah,
warning.
trigger warning at the
That
beginning
will
that you're going to be
also,
talking about sepsis, or that you're going to be
yeah.
talking about tuberculosis or whatever.
but
Yeah.
saying trigger warning will also get you more attention too. People will look
Okay.
at it because you do say trigger warning.
Right.
Got
So
it.
There's
Got
no
it.
so
harm in
there's a
saying trigger
balance
warning.
there. Yeah.
Got it. All
But
right.
especially if you're going to be sharing an image that might be disturbing to some people.
Oh,
Like, for
yeah, that makes
example,
sense.
you're showing a picture in a textbook of syphilis or
Yeah.
whatever, like,
Yeah.
ah,
I
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
scroll by. Some
That
I
people
is
would find that
fair.
awful.
I
Yeah,
follow pathologists on Instagram, and I'll see all
right.
these pictures of parties and costumes and all this, and then there's this, necrotic thing.
Oh, you're
Oh
like,
my God.
would have been nice to
Yeah,
start with the trigger warning there.
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And I see enough pathology all day long that I don't
yeah,
want to
yeah,
see that on my social
Yeah.
media
yeah,
feed.
yeah.
So I respect
I'm
that.
Yeah, I'm more of a book
Yeah,
talk. My personal
right.
consumption is all like,
Right.
honestly, a lot of fiction. So
Right.
it's like I'm like
So
it's
so
not
let's
medicine.
transition to that. I
Oh
want to
yes.
talk. Okay, so I've got my questions. I
Oh
actually
good,
put
let's
together
do it.
questions like a real interview and all that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know. Well, I'll start with Ash. Can I call you Ash, or
Yeah,
go
yeah,
by
yeah.
Ash or
Go for
Ashley?
it. Yep,
Ash is good.
Ashley.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know a little bit about where your writing journey began, like thinking back to like when you were a kid, because I think there are a lot of people on social media platforms who are young and starting out in writing. So like,
Yeah.
when did you first start realizing I like writing? Was it a teacher, middle school, high school? I'm thinking along those lines. So tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about your writing journey.
I know, because I feel like there's a lot of writers as well as
Yeah,
readers. Like a lot of people, more people
absolutely.
write than you think. For
Yeah.
me personally, it started with journals. I started journaling when I was like 8 years old, and I have dozens and dozens of these books just full of, words that probably will never be read again or, go anywhere. But that's kind of where it started. I just journaled constantly. And I always liked writing. It was like always a place of catharsis for me. So I think, especially when I became an emergency medicine doctor, I needed that place and it was there.
Mhm.
And it was something that I had developed as a coping mechanism when I was younger. So, and I don't know, it's something that I've kind of always done, but I never knew if I was good at. So that
Yeah.
was the part, that's the problem with art, right? Is you like do these things and you're like, I don't know if this is any good, but eventually I just was like, I want to put this out there and see if it's something that people might like and might help people. So that's kind of how the book pathway went, but it was a long path. It was 5 years probably. I started writing it in residency. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so it was a 5 year writing journey of just collecting stories, and I was doing a lot of screenwriting and technical consulting stuff, and that's a hard
Whoa,
market.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Screenwriting? What were you
Yeah,
writing
yeah.
screenwriting
So
for?
I was
Talk
doing
about that.
like television stuff for about 10 years. I was doing like different consulting for TV shows,
Okay,
mostly.
can you drop names?
Oh
Which
yeah,
TV
yeah, yeah.
shows?
So like Station 19, I did The Act, I did CBS's Bull, I did The Purge, which is a beautiful story about humanity's worst traits. I did my most like recent fun, like the thing that I thought was the coolest was I got to work with J.J. Abrams on a show he was developing for HBO called Demimonde. But apparently, like I'm not sure exactly what happened, but unfortunately, it didn't go to production. But
Mm,
I got to work with some amazing people, and the point for me and all that stuff was always to try and create things that were realistic because it's better for the
yeah,
art, but it's also passive learning for people,
yeah,
They've actually
yeah,
done studies on that. If you do CPR correctly on TV, you're more likely
yeah,
to just emulate it correctly in real life. I mean,
yeah,
please take a CPR class, but we
yeah.
don't have somebody doing CPR on the neck on television. It drives everyone crazy and it's gonna kill it doesn't it's gonna
Or just
not
this
gonna be
thing
something helpful.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
me when they bending at the
Yeah,
elbows
they're the
as opposed to just
elbows.
keeping. Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
know. Like what the
please stop.
stupid. I know.
So, so I did that for a long time, but it's a hard market and it's
Yeah.
selling a screenplay is awful.
Awful.
So, so I was like,
Painful.
I have this, writing that I've had for like 5 years and I really wanted to do something with it. So then I started going through that process and traditional publishing is a whole different world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels to like the Hollywood screenwriting world, but it's definitely, it's very different than medicine. I'll tell you that.
That's
I mean,
true.
you know.
So Bruce, were you a journaler too? When did you first start writing?
I was not. It was, I mean, I did tinker around a little bit when I was, much younger, but it wasn't until adulthood. I started out as an EMT, and I was on a whole different career path, and I was just basically when I was living in Memphis, there were community papers and free weeklies and these sorts of things. So it was just an opportunity to just to goof around and I did keep notebooks with odds and ends and nothing particularly focused and all that. It wasn't until I went to UMBC when I got to the university and started writing for the student paper. What it was,
There's your writing.
the student paper. I'll tell you what did it for me.
Yeah.
The first article that I actually made money for was for a paramedic magazine about differential diagnosis of chest pain, and I think I made $75 for it. And being paid for writing something was an absolute thrill.
Great feeling.
And having it there in the magazine, and I never thought that I could do something like that, and it was just a real eye opener. But when I came to Baltimore, all I knew about Baltimore, I didn't know anybody here. I was a stranger in town, and I came here for the Shock Trauma Center. They had an undergraduate program at UMBC, and all I knew about Baltimore was that Edgar Allan Poe was buried here, and every year on the anniversary of his birth, this mysterious stranger came to visit the cemetery and left a bottle of cognac and 3 roses on his grave. So my first year in Baltimore, I called up the guy who was the curator. I told him the whole thing was a hoax. He was the guy, and he invited me to spend the night in the catacombs at the cemetery. I had my tape recorder with me, and I recorded the whole evening. And the following day, I took it to National Public Radio, and they did a segment. I'd been up all night, all day, and my piece on the Poe toaster got on the air on the 19th of January, 1983. And I was in the newsroom when Susan Stamberg was reading my story on the air. And I understood in that moment how junkies feel, that rush of all these endorphins.
Excitement.
I was so high in that moment. I was just thrilled. And I have been chasing that feeling ever since. That it was just an extraordinary experience. And I mean, that changed everything for me. I want to do that. And there's no question about it.
That's really great. I mean, this actually segues towards like the next question I have, which is, what do you find though is the hardest part of this process? Because it's not just about the writing. And I mean, I understand the goal of feeling that connection to someone,
Yeah.
or seeing your works presented in a public forum and the excitement that comes from it. But it's such a long haul. So what is the hardest part for you about the entire process, whether it's writing, editing, marketing, publicity? Like which part of being an author kind of runs against your nature and
Well,
required you to hone skill
yeah.
sets that you did not expect that you would need?
Yeah, well, public speaking, really. I'm not comfortable. I'm really not comfortable speaking in front of people. It's just not something I naturally enjoy, really. But I found that when I'm talking about 18 Tiny Deaths, when I'm talking about Frances Glessner Lee or the Nutshells, I mean, it's comfortable. I enjoy it. I don't have any difficulty talking about one of my books. And I really enjoy the interaction and meeting with people and doing that. But I mean, if I had to go up for a talent show or something, I'd just be out of my skin. But
so as long as you're comfortable in your realm, as long as you're in your
yes,
hyper
in my
specialized realm,
in my
you're
wheelhouse, I'm
comfortable.
fine. Yes.
Okay. And then what about you, Ash? What's the thing that has thrown you for a loop in this
Yeah.
process?
I think it's similar to Bruce, right? You're not a writer because you like public speaking and being in front of people, right? Like that's not why we become writers. So, the PR and marketing portion of it is kind of surprising because it takes so much involvement and energy, and you have to sell yourself more than selling the book. And
Yeah.
that's one of the harder parts, right? Is I don't want to sell myself. I want you to, if you like the book and if this is something that like does something for you, whether it's teach you or make you
Yeah.
laugh or just tell you a good story, as long as it's doing that, like that's what I want for I don't want to I don't want to have to sell myself, but I mean that's I think unfortunately part of being an author, and I think that's
Yeah.
something that I learned along the way. I One of my favorite books is Stephen King's autobiography on writing. He talks about how hard
Yes.
it is to write, and I
Mhm.
feel like maybe he's talking about fiction because I didn't find it hard to write my book. I found it cathartic and I really enjoyed it. Maybe it's, he's obviously, one of the greatest, most prolific writers out there. So maybe it's, part of that, the thing that's hard there is the imagination and the time that it takes to be that, Stephen King. So maybe I'm just, got my training wheels on and that's why the writing part wasn't easy. But for me, like the writing was fine. That's what I wanted to do. It's the parts that came after that are more difficult. And I'm like trying to
Yeah.
figure out a way to connect with readers and meet them where they are, but also, I don't want to be famous. I just want you to read the book.
I want the book to be famous. I want
Yeah,
people
like
to
just read the
read.
book.
Yes, I'm not the
Well,
product. The book is the product.
Yeah.
one thing I don't think readers appreciate, I didn't appreciate until I was an author, was that the work is never done. I mean,
Right.
I thought you write a book, the book is published, boom, that's it, and you move on. But it's an ongoing, it's a continuously. I still get phone calls and interviews, and 18 Tiny Desks. People still have an interest in Frances Glessner Lee, and thank God for that. But it just never ends,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
But it is work. The writing itself, I didn't find difficult, and I mean, it's work, but it's not unpleasant work. It's all
Yeah.
the other
Right.
stuff that goes along with it.
Yep.
And like Ashely, I'm not naturally a promoter, but you do
Yeah.
have to, and you have to talk about yourself like we're doing now, and these sorts of things. That is not what I imagined or even signed up for in the very beginning when I had the idea of maybe doing a book one day.
Yeah, you know who
From
probably is getting more of that than she wants to is Freedom McFadden. She's a
oh
neurologist and
yeah,
she wrote
she's that's right.
yeah, she wrote some very,
The
very popular
Housemaid.
thriller books. Yeah, and it's,
That's right.
now it's in production and some pretty big people are in it. And she was on the red carpet and everything. And I'm like, she just wanted to write books. Like, leave her alone.
Yeah. But there are parts of this that are definitely, I mean, parts of this journey that I did not expect of being an
Yeah.
author that I still really enjoyed and leaned into, so to speak. It's one of the things that people talk about being an author that they hate the most is that they hate editing, for instance, that they don't like to strangle their darlings, is what it's referred to. And
Oh, no,
I
I hate that.
actually,
Strangle away.
yeah. And so TJ and I both, we work together as a team. TJ Mitchell is my co-author, I should mention. And he and I enjoy the editing process because taking something that is wordy and getting it tight
Mhm.
so that there's a very satisfying process there, and having the feedback of an editor or a beta reader or someone to kind of tell you this doesn't sound right, even if they can't really tell you how to tighten it. There is something about that process that I find really satisfying,
No,
and just and
absolutely.
especially now with word processing programs where you're like, okay, I'm going down from 30,000 words to 25,000, like you get your reward, you get your dopamine from
Yeah,
the word count. It's
definitely.
actually surprisingly satisfying. um and so that's one thing that I found that I was surprised that I would enjoy. Is there anything that surprised you that you didn't think that you would enjoy and you do actually enjoy from the process? Ooh, I'm making you think. I like
That's
that.
a hard one.
I gave you
I'm,
pause. Both of you are like,
yeah.
ah, tough question.
So, what was your question again? Was there
The
part
question
that
was, is that was there something that you have that surprised you that you didn't think that you would like or you didn't know you had to do, and then you actually really enjoyed it?
the
Like editing,
niceness?
for instance.
No,
Extra
editing.
points if it's something that other people don't like.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what people like or don't like. I don't mind the editing. the first draft I write for myself, and I understand things. I know where the story's going and all that. So it really, really important to have somebody who is unattached to it, to have a fresh look at it and say, I don't quite understand the logic, the flow here. Really, really invaluable. What I enjoy the most, I didn't expect that I would, is speaking with people and actually it's signing the books. When somebody, and they bought your book and there's I'm looking forward to reading it so much. I'm so excited. And that's a nice feeling. It really is.
It really is.
Yeah, that sounds like a great feeling. Can't
it is.
wait.
You'll get there.
Yeah,
You'll get there.
first book.
Yeah.
I think for me, what was surprising is, the sense of community, Judy, you and Bruce and the people that I've met along the way. I think that was something I didn't expect, was like, I didn't know that I was going to be kind of brought into the author community and people will be like, oh, you wrote a book, you're an author too. Because as somebody that's writing their first book, you kind of think like, oh, I'm not really an author yet. Like I'm not part of that group. So being part of the community and like meeting other authors and, getting to meeting people that own bookstores and meeting people who are in PR and marketing and all these relationships, I didn't know that was going to be part of it. And I think I underestimated how much that was going to mean to me.
I had the same experience. I was absolutely amazed how I was welcomed and supported and embraced by other authors right off the bat. And it was just such a great feeling to belong to that family. And so I'm trying to perpetuate that and spread that around as well.
And also pay it forward. I mean, that's the key.
Yes.
I think we realized a long time ago that at least the author community did, that reading books is not a zero-sum game. So nobody's going to, like, the person who reads my book is not going to not buy yours or yours, Bruce. They're the same readers, and they will read them multiple times, and they will recommend it to their friends.
If you like forensic science, I mean, this is it. Francis Glesner Lee and Working Stiff, and
I got yours.
And if you like the medical stuff, I mean, this is it. This is
the way to go.
This is such a wonderful book.
It is. And so the authors are also readers. I mean, writers are readers. So we're each other's biggest fans. I mean, one of my greatest moments, she's going to laugh if she sees this, but I was at the Miami Book Festival with TJ for Working Stiff, and someone I was chit-chatting with, I don't remember who it was, said to me, Judy Blume is right behind you. Oh. And that was like, it was my entire childhood.
Chills.
And I was just, I all of a sudden, I'm there as an author. People are coming to me and congratulating me, and I just turned around and had to introduce myself, and all that could come out of my mouth is I'm Judy too. My name is Judy. And I think that and I told her, like, having read her books as a child and seeing the name Judy, because nobody else was named Judy from my generation, it made me feel like I could also be an author as well. And we developed we had a really nice conversation. I got to meet her husband. It turns out that he's a writer as well. And it was just one of these, just really genuine interactions that I will, core memory. I will cherish that forever. It meant a lot to me to meet her.
But just the fact that she was so interactive with you. And so, I don't know if you've had this experience, Judy, in medicine, but there's so much, it's such a long process. And there's so much, almost it feels like hazing as a medical student and then a resident. And then you're, as an attending, it just takes time to like start to, so it's such a long time, and you're not considered, a doctor, like, a full-fledged for 15 years if you're like,
you're not even paid appropriately.
There's exactly. Oh, don't have me in residency. So there's just so much hazing, and you're not a full-fledged doctor for so long that I kind of thought with being an author, it was going to be the same thing, that there would be this hazing period, and everyone, would try and like, tell me like, oh, well, it's probably not going to work out type thing. But people have been nothing but supportive. And that is just kind of a wild feeling coming from the medical field. So I don't know. I appreciate it. And I can't, it's invaluable,
So I'm going to ask you a bit about your writing process, and if you could kind of paint a picture for me of what does your space look like, where do you work, What, do you always have do you have water with you or a cup of coffee? What time of day? Like, what does that look like for you? Because every writer has a different way of approaching it. Like, do you set a timer or a number of hours per day? How do you do your writing? Because I know you have to fit it in on top of being a doctor.
So Jackson Pollock has his like studio in the Hamptons, and I feel like that's being
That's
there.
your dream?
That's my writing style. Like I literally am like just like words on a page all over the place, and then it like comes together at the end. I think it's very odd because it's definitely not the way that most people write. And it's not the way that we're taught to write. We're taught,
Mm-hmm.
when you're little, you're taught to do like an outline and like, you want to make sure the structure is a certain way and all of that. And that is just not my process. My process is to kind of start with the things that I think are the most important and the things that are central and, whatever the theme or the idea is that I want to get across, and then it kind of builds from the middle. It's not or sometimes it starts with a story. It'll start with something that happened in the emergency
Like
department.
an anecdote.
Yeah, and something that I thought was really important that maybe will end up relating somehow to in this case one of the ways to stay away from that are listed in the book, the diseases and et cetera that you
Diseases to avoid.
yes, diseases to avoid.
I try to avoid all diseases.
Yeah, I mean,
I know.
exactly. Good. That's very good.
Unfortunately, they will find you.
Yeah, eventually they find us
Yeah.
all. But yeah, and I mean, like Stephen King, I always write in the morning. So that's
Mm-hmm.
I always write in the morning. I write right at our like living room table because my husband commandeered my desk. So, but I took it back for this interview. I'm like, I'm using the desk. So I write at a table. There's always coffee, usually like 5 coffees. Um, and yeah, just on my little laptop, and that's all it really takes is just, some time and some quiet. And I will mention my baby, who is 10 months old and
Oh,
was born a month after I finished writing the book. Kind of a serendipitous but challenging
Yeah, time period.
lineup there.
Yeah.
She kind of did all the editing with me. So, and she was very well behaved for most of it.
wow.
Although I did write the pregnancy chapter right after I found out I was pregnant, and I was so nauseated that I wrote the first sentence and I'm like, nope, see you in 3 months. So I remember messaging both my editor and my agents and being like, guys, we're going to have a little hiccup in the editing process here. I think I can still get it done in time. And I did still get it done in time thanks to my husband and a lot of support. But I was, for 3 months there, I was like, I couldn't like look at anything without feeling
Yeah.
nauseated. So, but the process was interesting. And, I being pregnant during the last, 9 months of everything was an interesting challenge. I had to sit further away from the computer, but yeah, so that's the process.
What about you, Bruce? Do you have a nook in your house, or do you go wander
Uh,
around in different locations, or what do you
no,
do?
no, I have a home office and I work down here. I still have young kids and a full-time job. I write for a nonprofit in the medical field. So I'm writing all the time. And, once I, I have a cup of coffee in the morning and then sit down for the day and we'll work on and off, through the day and evening and whatever. And uh, whatever it needs to get done. Now, when there's a book project, that's like a when I did 18 Tiny Deaths, I went to Boston, to Harvard, and to Chicago, and I used my phone. Actually, I used an app to make photocopies of thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of documents. And then in my office here, I had things all set up. I organized things chronologically and geographically, and then basically I've done a lot of journalism reporting, and
Mhm.
so I approached it as though I'm reporting on history, is the way I looked at it. So I
Mhm.
just I wrote it just like I would report on any other story. And the thing about it, a book seems overwhelming at first when you think about thousands of, tens of thousands of words that you need to produce. And it's just, it's how do you get there? But if you sit and you do a few hundred words or 1,000 words and you do some every day, and it comes easier if you do it more often, and then, in a period of time, boom, there it is, and it's done. So that's the way that went. Now with OCME, that was quite different because like Ashely's book and like Working Stiff, it's a bit of a memoir, as well as that's written in, a bit differently. And I'd be curious how you went about Working Stiff. Did you do this while you were doing your fellowship, or was this afterward?
Yeah. So I took notes. You're going to laugh because it was high tech for the time period. I had a Hewlett Packard 200LX, which was one of the first kind of digital devices where it was essentially a word processing program that you could type with your thumbs. And it didn't have a phone attached to it. It was about the size of an iPhone now, but it was just a handheld electronic device where you could type in notes. And that's where I journaled. So every single day during my fellowship, I took notes about what happened that day. And part of it was for me as someone who was going through something very difficult, because fellowship is stressful and you're learning stuff. And it was a way for me to take notes about what I was learning, but it was also a way for me to process what I was experiencing. And in the back of my head, I knew I wanted to write a book and that I would need these notes. So then at the end of the fellowship, I essentially handed it off to TJ Mitchell, my husband, and said, "Hey, you're a writer, do something with this." Like I hadn't thought of myself as a writer at that point.
Yeah.
And we sat on it for several years. Like he had the notes and he knew what the structure of the book would be, because I had already organized it into the case-based narrative, which is Working Stiff. It wasn't chronological anymore. But he just sat on it. And then you're going to laugh because we went to a friend's house, and the friend is Jenny Holm. Those who know fiction and I think she writes she writes mostly fiction. She also does graphic novels for middle school and young adults. And she's married to a friend of ours from college, and we were at their house. And when she found out that TJ was sitting on this trove of my notes with the structure but hadn't turned it into a proposal yet, she started pestering him. And that's what made us, create the proposal and pitch it to our agent. So we were working off of my notes for Working Stiff, but then it was very, very different when we were writing our novels, which was First Cut and Aftershock. That was a very different writing process. I have to say you used a different writing process for each of our 3 books.
Oh,
so the first one was note based and about my as I was going through it, I was taking notes and journaling. The second one, First Cut, I had we mostly pantsed. There's called plotting and pantsing for writing fiction. So we mostly pantsed First Cut, where we didn't know where it was going to go, and we were just kind of following to see where it would end up, and ended up with the book, and then had to revise it to make sure it was a coherent narrative. And then the next novel, Aftershock, that was more of a plotting, where we had the beginning, middle, and end as an outline already set up, and then we had to kind of fill it in because we already knew the characters. We just had to create the arc. And now the book that we're working on right now, which is currently unnamed, but
I'm working on it. I got some.
You're going to help me with titles.
Yeah.
So I've actually gone on TikTok and asked our TikTok followers of okay, we're writing another book. This one is based on the cases that went to litigations, the ones that I testified on. So it's more focused on instead of focusing on the front end of forensic pathology, which is when the patient, the deceased come in and you're doing the autopsy and trying to figure it out. Now it's the back end where it's going to court, and how are the attorneys going to litigate it?
And these would be contentious, controversial cases. These are ones.
Yes, because generally, if they're going to court, there's something to argue about. It's not clear cut at all.
Exactly.
Whether it's criminal or civil, it's going to be the most complex, the most contentious, the most difficult to explain. This is the challenge for TJ. But of course, I haven't been taking notes for 25 years about my cases, but I do have my
Telling here.
reports.
Sure.
I
Oh,
have my reports, I have my memory, and I do have, the actual reports that I've written about the cases. And many of them, the ones that have been litigated and there actually is an outcome, they're in the press. So we can also rely on things in the news about them, and Google and look up newspaper clippings to try to make sure that my memory is actually accurate.
yeah.
That's a question I have for both of you, though, is that when it comes to this issue of accuracy, the science part's easy. The journalism part is easy. Things are in the news, it's in a newspaper, people can report it. What about people, characters? Have you ever, when you've written the book, was there a point where you're like pulling your punches because you don't want to get sued, or because you
I like
this
that.
person was particularly unpleasant and uncooperative, but you have to paint them in a much more generous light because you don't want to piss people off? Like, talk to me about that conflict, because I always find that really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's specifically difficult in emergency medicine, right? Because it's everybody's worst day, and I'm
Right.
very protective of patients. So I actually often
Mhm.
refer to my book as a nonfiction novel
Yeah.
because the characters have been changed.
Right.
So the
You have to.
patients aren't real people anymore.
Yeah.
So if it was a 90-year-old woman or, with bacterial meningitis, it's a 50-year-old man with HSV encephalitis.
Yeah.
The point of the story is the same. And so I always
Yeah.
say, like, it doesn't matter if it's the tortoise and the hare or if it's the sloth and the roadrunner. It's the same point. It's the same
Concept. Yeah.
story. Yeah, the concept is there. So I was very, very, very careful to make sure that these were no longer real people. There are
Yeah.
some things in there that are pulled from the news. Like if it wasn't
Yeah.
my patient, sometimes
Yeah.
I'll have, if there were stories that were in the news or something and it wasn't my patient, sometimes I'll kind of fictionalize those stories. I've done that for like, other things that I've written for op-eds, newspapers, stuff like that. But yeah, mostly the characters are, they're basically fiction at this point because I didn't want to use real people. But the concepts and the things that I went through, I mean, sometimes honestly, it's worse. Sometimes I've toned
Yeah.
things down. And I kind of mentioned it in the book, I also very specifically don't talk about my like peds cases in detail.
Yeah.
For the most part, there's a couple of them in there, but those are just, I had a doctor tell me once when I was first starting out, he's like, everybody's got a number of kids that they can
Mhm.
go through in our job. And once you hit your number, you're done and you get out. Um,
Yeah.
I was lucky in the beginning to work in cities. I mean, in emergency medicine, you do pediatric rotations. You do about, I
Yeah.
don't know, 6 to 9 months of peds, depending on how long. I mean, now those residencies are all 4 years. Mine was 4 years.
Yeah.
So you do peds, but you do it at peds hospitals, which are very different. Everything's little, everything's made for them. All the doctors
Yeah.
are pediatric
It's very
trained. They're
easy.
very, very highly trained, as you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
and you're just kind of the dumb emergency medicine doc who's not pediatric trained, just doing their thing in these pediatric spaces with all these brilliant people. But when you go out to the community, most communities do not have pediatric hospitals.
No, they
So
don't.
so you
They don't
see
even have into the right tubes. They don't have the right
no, I
equipment.
mean
Yeah.
you see and you see all the peds. So that's the one thing about my job that I just do not like. Apparently I'm good at it. People tell me that doesn't matter. I don't
Is
want to
it
see it, and
different?
I don't
Is
write
it
about
different
it.
now because you have a baby? Is that what
No,
changed
no,
it?
it made it
No.
worse. I
Yeah.
have a very healthy respect of my daughter. I'm like, did you just sniffle? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
I was, and I know all the bad things. So I think that that's another thing that's hard
We
is that
all
like
three of us know all the bad
oh,
things.
right. Like, and your
Yeah.
viewpoint is just like the worst possible thing that could happen. I'm like, we will never have grapes in my home. And
Slice them in half, slice them in quarters.
yeah,
And
Bruce is like, you can
always,
do it. Just be tough.
yeah, and always be seated. You are not
Yeah.
walking around with food.
Oh
If you're
man,
eating, you're
you're
seated, and I'm
seated.
watching you
Yeah.
like a hawk. I'm watching you.
So I'm yeah, very very
Yeah.
careful. Like for instance, the first 30 days I was,
Yeah.
for pediatrics, a lot of parents don't know that in those first 30 days, if you have a fever for any reason, okay, you have to,
Admit.
yeah, you're going to the emergency department, you're getting a lumbar puncture and you're getting admitted. It's 28 days.
Yeah.
It's very traumatic.
It is.
But it's life-saving
Yeah.
because it often catches bacterial infections
Very
in
early.
the brain that will kill you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we're allowed to say that word. Sorry.
Yes.
I have to
It's
cut
okay.
that out.
We'll cut
That
it
are
out.
very dangerous. The bacterial
Yeah.
infections in the spine that are very dangerous. So because of that, this is the way that we treat those 100% of the time. So the first 30 days, I was like, okay, it's my husband, me, and the baby, and nobody else. And that's
Mm-hmm.
extreme. But I have these experiences that have been, very
Mm-hmm.
traumatic, and I've seen the worst things. But that's not
Yeah.
most of life. Most of life isn't the worst stuff.
No.
So, but because of that, I don't talk about a lot of the ped stuff. I don't talk, I mean, the patients are all, things are changed, but the things I've seen are just wild. Like from,
Oh, sure.
movie stars to people in weird situations doing, there's a story in there about a patient with a scythe that's very interesting.
Oh my gosh.
There's
Yes.
some crazy stuff in there. And
That's right.
this
You have
stuff is
a
all
you
on
have a
if
whole section on butt stuff.
yes, there is.
So,
There
so
is.
this stuff
I mean,
is just prime real
I
estate
and
for
you know
social
what?
media.
I didn't even put the weirdest stuff in there.
I'm
That's
sure.
the stuff.
I'm
That's the
sure.
part that's crazy is that everything is toned down.
Yeah.
So that's the part that's pretty wild. But I mean, I'm in there. I think that that's the hard thing is that there's so
Personal
much,
stuff.
yeah, there's so much of me in there. And so that I'm like, I hope people like it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think there's always this challenge when writing about real people
yes.
that they're going to take it the wrong way.
Oh
I
yeah.
know that when it came to Working Stiff, because I was writing, we changed the names of all the decedents except for
Mhm.
one who
Yeah.
was a public figure in the news, and it was in the newspaper. So we were
Yes. So you're
told by
going
the
that
legal
side.
division that if
Go
it's in
for
the
it.
newspaper, they have no expectation of
Yeah.
privacy.
The legal people told me I
So
went way too far. They're like, it's fine. I'm like, nope,
it's
changing it more.
yeah, I know. So I had to, we changed the names of all the decedents. All of the staff members at the OCME where I worked, I left their actual names. So then before the book came out, I made sure that every single person who was mentioned in the book by name got a copy that I
Oh,
could get to, like if I
yeah.
if I had their address or knew how to find them.
Yeah.
So I sent a stack of 30 books to the OCME in New York, dedicated to each and every person that I worked with,
That's
so that
great.
they knew that, because I didn't want them to find out that, like, as a surprise, that they
Yeah.
were in there.
Now
So
you're
that
making
was
me
really
think I should
important
have
to me.
done that because
Yeah, no, I mean, well, you
I
still
don't use
can.
the
I mean, there's
patient's
nothing
names,
to
but
stop
like,
you.
maybe
my
I
Yeah,
should have
friends
done
and
that.
stuff are in it.
but the
Sorry,
staff that is in there, I gave them copies because I wanted them to know that they were in there, and I
yeah.
didn't want them to find out by surprise where someone says, "Hey, I saw your name in a book."
Yeah.
So that was an important part for me,
It's very
and
smart.
then Charles Hirsch, who was the chief medical examiner at the time, he gave me. I mean, I didn't hear from him initially, but eventually I went back to New York and I saw him, and I was really nervous because I was like, he hadn't reached out to me when the book came out, so I was a little like, did he hate it? I knew that he was not in love with some of the other books that had come out about the OCME, because there have been several besides mine, especially about 9/11. And so I went up to him and I, asked him, just to confirm you received your copy, are you okay with it? I don't remember exactly how I phrased it, but the largest compliment he gave me, and that I really still treasure to this day, was that fact that he appreciated that the way I wrote the book, the way TJ and I wrote the book, was to acknowledge the participation of every single person, that it wasn't all about me, and that it was about the fact that that many people work together, and that this was a group effort to be able to not just respond to 9/11, but also the day-to-day work of the medical examiner. It's never a one, I think that that's where, if we were to talk about like television, how they tend to misrepresent our fields, not
Huh?
just emergency
Oh
medicine,
yeah, everybody.
um, but death investigation as well, that there tends to be a focus on this hero pathologist or hero death investigator, or this cop who figures it all out. The trope, the Hollywood trope of the
Yeah.
one person who has the insight or the gumption or the resilience to be able to solve the case, or get their man.
Yeah.
Um,
That's why
and
when I wrote
yeah,
OCME, I made me the idiot. See, rather than
exactly.
well,
You're
but
like,
that's part of the
Yeah,
arc, is that I'm
yeah.
stupid in the beginning and
And I don't know
and
what I'm doing.
learn throughout the book.
Right.
yeah, that's cool.
And also you acknowledge the fact in OCME, as well as in your current book, in The Worst Day, that it is a group effort, that none of this is a single hero or a single individual who saves the day. What saves the day, and this is true in the emergency room as well, Ash, is that it's a team effort, and it's the group working together. And I mean, I think that the closest you can come to this, of like in terms of the modern Hollywood stuff, is The Pit, which is why it's doing so well among physicians, is if you actually watch the series, the I think it's a Netflix series, if I were HBO, I can't remember which one it is, HBO. You watch it and you see that it does acknowledge the group effort that's necessary, that there are people who don't know what they're doing but can follow instructions. That was me, right? And the people who have the experience but may be too busy or too spread thin to be able to be 100% at that moment, and how we all compensate for each other in every single moment, whether it's in an emergency room or in a death investigation or even in a trial situation when you're testifying. It's not you could be the best expert in the world, but if the attorney is not on their game and doesn't pay attention to the answers and the questions, you're not going to get the information across to the jury. So all of it is a team effort. It's a community. Well, I think, let's say we've been talking for more than an hour now. So I guess just on the way of going out, before we go out, I think we should all take a chance. I want Ashely, I want you to hold up your book, and I want to talk about it.
Okay.
Or Bruce and I are going to talk about it. You hold it. There we go. So 99 Ways to Die is available for pre-order now. And Bruce has got it as well. So
I love this book.
This is a great book. So Bruce, tell us what you love about this book.
I love it. One, it's informational. I love the way the writing approach is very conversational, very personal, and it weaves together clinical information and this personal input, and it's approachable, informative. I just enjoyed it from cover to cover. It's a wonderful book, and I really do believe that it should be a bestseller, and I hope that this is the first of many more
books. Yes, you've got more in you, and we know it.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I unfortunately I don't have The Worst Day with me, which is Bruce's book,
which
is coming out in January. I'm going to hold up 18
There you go.
I got this one. Yes.
18 Tiny Deaths.
This is Bruce's first book.
Yeah.
Have you heard about it?
I haven't read it yet. I got to get it.
Awesome.
I'm going to get it today.
Yeah, it's got a really, really good foreword by a Dr. Melanek.
Yeah. That helped me so much. It not only it gave me but it gave me how to explain. It gave me credibility. I mean, it made me feel good, and it really added so much to the book.
These are life-changing. So when I visited the Baltimore office and saw these for the first time, I realized, it gave me the appreciation of the confluence between forensics, medicine, and the creative arts, because this is just an art, and really an art, because it's woven in storytelling and analysis and detective work and everything I absolutely love about forensics. So if you haven't seen the Nutshell studies, they're still at the Baltimore office for viewing, where are they now? I know they were on tour for a while, and they were at the Smithsonian.
Where are they Smithsonian now? They're back in Baltimore.
Okay.
But
are they open for the public?
No, they're not. I know.
So we can see them on your TikToks, right? Where can we see them?
He's going to go get them. He's like, I have them now.
This is an absolutely wonderful book called The Nutshell Studies of Unexplained Death by Corinne Botts. She did these wonderful images. These are they're dioramas. There's plenty of photos, but they're miniature dioramas. Each one of them cost about as much as it costs to build a real house.
Wow.
Used as a instructional media to teach. Frances Glessner Lee was literally the mother of forensic science. She is the person responsible for bringing forensic medicine and establishing it in the United States. And what I hear most often from people who read the book is, I had no idea. I had no idea about the coroner system, medical examiners, any of it.
That's right.
And I never heard of her. She's an absolutely fascinating person. Never heard of her. I had no idea that this even existed.
What a cool way to.
And it was at a time that women were not. This was considered unseemly for women. She was, even though she advanced the field and luckily she was wealthy enough that she could get the funding to be able to advance the field and promote the science. But she herself was not viewed as a scientist.
She wasn't. She had no formal education.
Yeah. But she was self-taught.
She was an outsider. She was a woman in a man's field of law enforcement. She was a uneducated person in the field of academia. She was a woman absolutely out of place, a independently wealthy grandmother who happened to establish forensic medicine in the United States.
It's such a great story.
Picturing Angela Lansbury right now. And Nancy Drew, honestly. That was my favorite show growing up because I was a little weirdo. When I was when I was like 5, I loved Murder, She Wrote. That was my favorite TV show.
Yeah, for me, I get to tell you, for me, it was MASH. I was
MASH is great.
Such a crush on Alan Alda on Hawkeye. Yeah.
Hawkeye,
huge crush.
Yeah.
That was my childhood crush. Yeah, I wanted to be a surgeon. I actually wanted to work in surgery. I think in part because of MASH, and then I surgery and realized I can't do this.
The surgeons will always tell you if you like anything better than doing surgery, do not do it because it becomes your whole life.
My inspiration.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is that the fact that I had some go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane. The old black and white Superman shows, and they always got in trouble, and they were the ones who were held prisoner and tied to a chair. And I figure whatever they're doing, that's interesting. I want to get in trouble like that.
And that's how you become a journalist.
Yes.
That's your journalism angle.
I love that.
Well, this is great. This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm hoping that we can have a few more. I will pass this on to Michaela, and hopefully she can create little vignettes, and then we can tag each other and get it started. Get the ball rolling on the pre-orders for you guys.
I appreciate both of you so much.
Buy this book. It's a wonderful book. Put it on your list. You can get it. You can order it now. Pre-order. It's available anywhere you get books.
Yeah.
And this is released in January, is it?
January 13th.
And
January
13th.
Very lucky day.
Hold up the worst day too, though. I want you to hold up the worst day.
This is the worst.
When's that coming out?
Absolutely true story of 2 disasters during a historic snowstorm. I spent years tracking down dozens of participants in an incident that happened more than 40 years ago. This actually comes out on Tuesday, the 9th. It's going to
9th of December. So it's coming out now. Okay, so pre-order it now.
Pre-order that now.
Pre-order it now.
Pre-order it now
for the holidays.
Okay. Good. All right, we've got this in the can. It is great talking to you and meeting you guys, and we will do this again in a few weeks.
Okay.
All
right, awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. All right, have a good one.
We'll do it again. All right, bye.